Okay, Natalia, this video is especially for you. So first of all, great job being focused. You got the do now done and you got this whole classwork thing done. So great. So the feedback I am going to give you today is to up your game and to make it even better. So for question number 1, it says, in what ways was the enslaved community diverse? You have to think about what diverse means, and it means different. So you want to think about, like, how was each slave different from the other? Because they weren't all the same. They didn't all have the same background. And the work they did when they were slaves was different. So it's the second slide in, I think, that has the paragraph about their differences. So that's this one right here, and it says, enslaved people came from many cultures and spoke a variety of languages. So again, here's the word, okay, it says variety here, which means different, and so doesn't diverse, it means different. So first, one difference between them is that they spoke different languages because they came from different parts of Africa, and not all people in Africa speak the same language. Then it says, while most were born in Africa, many were born on the island. And I was talking to another student, and they didn't come to realize this, that when the slaves were taken over from Africa, they would get pregnant while they were on Hispaniola and have babies. And when those babies were born, the slave owners would say, okay, now the baby's a slave too because you're a slave, which is totally wrong. But some of those babies were born into slavery on the island. So some slaves came from Africa and some were born on the island. And the slaves that were born on the island, that grew up on Hispaniola or Saint Dominique, right here it says they tended, which means most of them were treated better than the first generation slaves. And the first generation slaves are the slaves that came directly over from Africa. So that's another difference. And then slaves born on the island also tended to have more family ties and to practice Catholicism, although this was often used to disguise the voodoo religion practice. So for the biggest differences, it was where they came from and the languages that they spoke. And then there was another slide about their jobs, and that's this one. Like, some of the slaves were considered elite, and some of them, were just regular slaves. So that's those two slides, and that's about the differences for the jobs. So right after this, I'm going to have you answer that again and think about use those slides to help you with your answer.